Hi everyone and welcome back to Life in Print with Leonie. So this week, with it being the bank holiday, I've took a little bit of extra time to make 3 videos. So this one is going to be a short video about how to read more books. So I've seen a lot of people since entering the booktube community and also on Twitter, other forms of social media and on things like Goodreads, who want to read more books because there's so many books, so little time, right? Particularly when, like me, you work full time, if you're studying full time, or even if, like me, you're working full time and studying part time as well, and you have no spare time at all, and you're only getting through a book a week or a couple of books a week and you want to read more. So on average, I read about 25 books a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. So I took over my Goodreads target last year in my reading challenge and read about 285 books in the whole of last year. This year I'm aiming for 300 and up to now I've read about 86. But I do still find time to study, to write, to go to work, to spend time with my partner, time with my friends, walk my dog, go on my driving lessons. You get the idea. So I want to talk a little bit about how I have been able to read more books in the small amount of spare time that I have and how you can too. So just to say straight off, this isn't a tip on how to read fast. I do read very fast and that probably does go a long way as to why I read so many books. However, there are some other tips that may help. So number one, the first tip that I have is always have a book with you. You never know when there's going to be an opportunity to read a book. I literally have a book with me at all times. It's either a physical copy of a book, my Kindle, or also the Kindle app on my phone in case I finish a book and don't have another one with me. So on a day-to-day basis, I read in every spare minute that I have. So I get up in the morning, get ready for work, leave the house and I catch the bus. So obviously this isn't going to work for people who don't rely on public transport or even people who get travel sick if they're reading. But I have about a 30-40 minute journey on the bus to and from work every day. So I read on my way there and I read on my way back. So that is easily almost an hour and a half out of every day that I have time to read. I also read on my lunch break at work, so I have a half an hour lunch break. While I'm eating my lunch, I read my book and then I read it after I've eaten as well, so that's another hour. So already 2 hours out of my day is dedicated reading time. Once I get home from work, I'll sometimes read while I'm cleaning or cooking, if I'm like waiting for water to boil for pasta or anything like that. I must emphasise that you should do that safely, like don't not pay attention to what you're doing if you're chopping vegetables, knife, reading, not paying attention, not good. But if you're just genuinely waiting for something while it's cooking, then read. I take my book everywhere with me in the house as well, so I have a really nice hot bath every night and I'll sit in the bath for half an hour and read. I read in bed. I do still find time to watch TV with my boyfriend, but after he's gone to sleep, I'll spend another maybe half an hour reading. If I'm just waiting for my driving instructor or someone who's coming to pick me up to go somewhere, I will spend that time reading. Literally any spare second, right, I'll read. Tip number 2 is to look at what books are on your TBR shelf that are short, because it stands to reason that the shorter the book, the quicker it's going to be to read. So out of the 85 books that I've read this year, some of them were 100 pages or less. But they were books that were on my TBR and I just thought, well, these are really short, quick and easy to get through. I might as well get them off the TBR before I start reading some of the longer ones that are going to take more time. At one point I was trying to read all of the classics all in one go, but they are enormous books. They're always written in quite old style language, they're difficult to understand and they do take more time. So now I've said, well, look, just read one classic a month. So each month I'll set myself one classic read, but the rest of my reads will be newer books or even sort of older books within the last couple of decades that are easier to get through. Tip number 3 is to look at what younger YA books you have or children's fantasy that you want to read. It stands to reason that children's books are always going to be written in a much easier style to read. For example, I've been reading the Keys to the Kingdom series by Garth Nix. They do look quite big books. This one has 424 pages, but I can read that book in a day as well as being at work because the writing is quite big, it's well spaced out, and the language is so easy that you can just get through it really quickly while still being able to take everything in. Tip number 4, and my last tip on how to read more books, is make sure that when you are reading, it's a time when you can concentrate. Now, there's distractions all over. Personally, I find listening to music or somebody watching TV in the same room as me while I'm trying to read really distracting because my mind just slips onto that instead of what I should be focusing on. However, things like background noise, like people on the bus or the telephone ringing at work, I can close off from that and completely focus on the book. Do what works for you, get into your zone, get where you can completely let the book swallow you up and engage you, and I promise you, you will read a lot faster and a lot more books. So I hope that this video has been helpful and that it gives people an idea of how they can read more books and get down that huge TBR pile. If you do have any more questions or want any further tips or want to ask anything else about the way that I read and how I read so many books, please comment below. And if you'd like to see more helpful tips and tricks like this, you can subscribe using the button below. See you next time.